watching GVTV News.
Thanks, Gloria, and I'm Randy Hansen. In today's World News headlines, protest erupts in New York City after grand jury clears cop on chokehold death of Eric Garner. And Cleveland officer who killed 12-year-old was deemed unfit, had dismissal gun performance. And Philippines braces for super typhoon in midst of UN climate summit. And Colombian government to resume peace talks with FARC. And Al-Qaeda threatens to kill U.S. journalists in Yemen. And lawmakers agree to $585 billion military bill expanding ISIS offensive. And 3 women detail assaults by Bill Cosby, events canceled after attendees returned tickets. A teenager arrested in a rape in Oklahoma following mass walkout. And Supreme Court hears pregnancy discrimination case. And labor dispute issue a rule on anti-LGBT discrimination. And 17 states sue Obama over executive action on immigration. And appeals court stays execution of schizophrenic Texas prisoner Scott Panetti. And upstate New York peace activist spared jail time after drone protest. GVTV News is broadcast on Grass Valley Television, division of Rural County's television network, whose focus is on community involvement. We also air on NCTV. But before these stories, GVTV News would like to thank one of our underwriters who supports your only visual video news media in Nevada County. That's right, it's us. GVTV News. In today's first world news story, protests have erupted in New York after a grand jury decided not to indict a white police officer for the chokehold death of Eric Garner in Staten Island. Garner, an African-American father of 6, died in July after police officer Daniel Patalio wrestled him down with a band chokehold. He was saying he couldn't breathe many times, I think around 11, and after Eric Garner's mother, Guar Carr, reacted to the grand jury's decision and said, "I'm truly disappointed in the grand jury decision this evening. I don't know what the video they were looking at. Evidently it wasn't the same one that the rest of the world was looking at. How could we put our trust in a justice system when they fail us like this?" Headlines in New York Daily News read, "Grand jury clears choke cop, we can't breathe." In a wake of the grand jury's decision, more than 80 people were arrested in protests shut down parts of New York City, including Brooklyn Bridge, Lincoln Tunnel, West Side Highway, 6th Avenue, around Rockefeller Center, where the Christmas tree lighting ceremony was taking place. Justice Department has announced it will launch a civil rights investigation into Garner's death. More than 100 people packed a church in Cleveland, Ohio for a memorial service of Tamir Rice, a 12-year-old African-American boy shot dead by police last month. Rice, who was 6th grade, was killed after a 911 caller reportedly seen a boy that it turned out to be a pellet gun, which the caller repeatedly seemed fake. Video shows Cleveland police officer Timothy Lohman fatally shooting Rice immediately after leaving his cruiser from a distance of about 10 feet. Reports emerged that Lohman was deemed unfit as a police service 2 years ago when he worked in a suburb in Independence. A letter from the Superior specifically criticized Lohman's performance in firearms training, saying he just could not follow simple directions, could not communicate clear thoughts nor recollections. His handgun performance was dismal. Philippines is braced for another super typhoon this weekend, with thousands being told to evacuate from areas being devastated last year by Typhoon Haiyan. Schools and workplaces have closed down. Forecast shows Typhoon Hagaput could impact two-thirds of Filipino provinces and reach Category 5 status. The storm is in the past similar to Haiyan, which left more than 7,000 dead and missing last year. Comes as a group of German Watch listed the Philippines as the country was most impacted by climate change last year. It's the third year in a row major storm in the Philippines has coincided with the United Nations Climate Change Summit, where the disproportionate harm borne by countries least responsible for climate change has been top issue. Speaking at a limit in Lima, Peru, UN Climate Chief Cristina Figueres acknowledged emission limits due to agreed upon the next year's summit in Paris will be not enough to avoid the worst impacts of the climate change. She said, "We already know because we are pretty good at sense of what countries will be able to do in the short run, that the sum total of the efforts in Paris of both governments and non-state actors will not be able to put us on a path for 2 degrees next year." Whatever that means. Colombian government and FARC rebels have agreed to resume peace talks aimed at the end of 50-year conflict. President Juan Manuel Santos had suspended the talks until the FARC released the army general and other hostages captured last month. And Iran has launched airstrikes against the Islamic State, Islamic Muslim terrorist targets in Iraq as the United States continues its assault on the militants in Iraq and Syria. But speaking in Washington, D.C., Washington Press Secretary Josh Earnest said Iran and the United States are not working together. He said, "At this point, our calculations about the wisdom of cooperating militarily with the Iranians has not changed. We're not going to do it." Of course, we never know what they're going to do because they change their mind every other week. Al-Qaeda militants in Yemen have released a video threatening to execute a U.S. journalist taken hostage last year. Luke Summers is a photojournalist who was captured in Yemeni's capital, Sana'a. U.S. commandos reportedly tried to rescue Summers last week but missed him, instead freeing several other hostages, most of them Yemeni. And U.S. lawmakers have reached a deal, $585 billion military deal, which expands the U.S. offensive in Iraq and extends training to Syrian rebels for another 2 years. Major adds $1.6 billion to train Iraqi security forces. This comes amidst reports of disarray in the army's ranks as Iraq Prime Minister Haider al-Abadi has revealed that the presence of 50,000 so-called ghost troops, fraudulent names which generate salaries that are then collected by army officers. The bill also deals a blow to effort to close Gitmo by maintaining a ban on prisoner transfers to U.S. soil. The bill includes some steps to curb rape in military ranks but keeps assault cases in the military chain of command. Comes as new data shows reports of sexual assault in U.S. military has increased 8%. Women have come forward publicly to accuse comedian Bill Cosby of sexual assault. 3 women joined together at a news conference, including Beth Ferrier, who told her story in the National Enquirer in 2005. Tabloid ended up killing the article in exchange for a favorable front-page interview with Cosby. And she said, "I believe that Mr. Cosby drugged me and sexually assaulted me that night. For years I did not tell anyone about it, what he had done to me, because I was afraid. I felt threatened by him. I did not think anyone would believe me." The woman was joined by attorney Gloria Allred, who urged Cosby to waive the statute of limitations and let the case go to trial and provide a $100 million compensation fund for the more than 20 women who have come forward to report assaults dating back a half century. Cosby has canceled performance plans in the weekend at Tarrytown, New York, after about half the attendees returned their tickets to the sold-out shows. In Oklahoma, police have arrested an 18-year-old rape for rape in a case that sparked a mass walkout by students in the town of Norman. Tristan Cole Kilman Harden had been charged with raping a 16-year-old girl in September, and at least 2 other victims have also come forward. After the teens faced harassment at Norman High School, hundreds of students with campaign Yes All Daughters staged a walkout last month to protest the school's treatment of victims. And the U.S. Supreme Court has heard arguments in a case about the rights of employees who became pregnant. The case centers on a former UPS driver, Peggy Young. After Young became pregnant, UPS refused to reassign her to lighter duties, instead of suspending her from work and cutting off her health benefits. She spoke out in court and said, "It's principle. It can't be right to make me choose to start my family and to support my family, so it's principle. I should be able to do both." U.S. Department of Labor has issued a rule to prevent discrimination against employees of federal contractors based on their sexual orientation or gender identity. The rules puts into place an anti-discrimination executive order signed by President Obama in July. And Texas and 16 other states have filed lawsuits against the Obama administration over its plans to provide relief for deportation to up to 5 million illegal aliens so far. The lawsuit marks the first major legal challenge to Obama's executive action announced last month. Doesn't look too happy about that, does he? Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals has stayed the execution of Texas prisoner with schizophrenia. Scott Panetti was due to be executed for murder Wednesday. Despite a lengthy history of mental illness, he represented himself at trial and attempted to subpoena John F. Kennedy, the Pope, and Jesus Christ in his defense. In a statement, his attorneys called the ruling the first step in a process which will clearly demonstrate that Mr. Panetti is too severely mentally ill to be executed. In New York, a longtime peace activist has been sentenced to 1-year conditional discharge and ordered to pay $1,000 fine for demonstrating outside the gates of the New York's Hancock Field Air National Guard base, which is used to remotely piloting the U.S. drone attacks. Mike Colville, who appeared in Democracy Now!, was facing 2 years in prison for his role in peaceful protest, but the judge decided not to send him to jail. Colville celebrated it after the decision and said, "I'm a person of hope, and my hope is grounded in my fellow human beings, among whom is Judge Jokey, I think it is. I think that the best for him, which is that perhaps some level of his conscience was moved to do something in the right way, and fairness and justice in this case." More than 100 people have been arrested over the past 5 years in part of the nonviolent campaign against drone attacks organized by Upstate Drone Coalition. And that's it for the World News today. Now, thanks to one of our underwriters who supports your only visual video news media in Nevada County. That's right, it's us, GVTV News.
Sunshine, she's here, you can take a break. I'm a hot air balloon, I could go to space. With the air like I don't care, baby, by the way. Because I'm clap along if you feel like a room with a hot roof.
That's right, it's time for the police blotter. Pictures in the blotter, not from these actual events, but used for visual aid only. These public records are obtained from daily logs issued from Nevada County law enforcement. Grass Valley Police Department on Tuesday, 9:08 a.m. A caller from a business 800 block of Sutton Way reported a transient in a VW bus taking a shower in front of the business. Man said he poured water over himself because he was having a seizure. He left the area. At 9:17 a.m., a woman from 100 block of Comstock Court reported the theft of her bike. 2 p.m., a caller from business 600 block of Freeman Lane reported a man stole multiple items. He was arrested on suspicion of second-degree burglary. At 3:52 p.m., a woman from 100 block of Neal Street reported being verbally assaulted by a taxi driver who then left her stranded in the rain. 3:55 p.m., a caller from 100 block of Brantwood Drive reported theft of cash and food stamps. At 3:59 p.m., a woman from 700 block of South Auburn Street reported a delusional and violent person in her shower. Person was arrested on unknown charges. At 4:01 p.m., a caller from 300 block of North Star Place reported a physical fight involving a man and a woman. At 4:16 p.m., a caller from 300 block of Cambridge Court reported a trenching camp. 6:24 p.m., a man from the hospital called to say he needed to turn himself in. He was advised he had no current warrants, and he said he would assault someone or commit a crime so he could get into custody. 7:54 p.m., a caller from 100 block of Iron Horse Place reported a loud explosion and the power went out. At 8:54 p.m., a caller from Highway 20 and Brunswick Road reported a man on a highway with no shirt on, waving his arms. At 11:09 p.m., a caller from Ocean Avenue reported a man stole items from a work area under a house. And Wednesday, 6:40 a.m., a caller from Primrose Lane reported someone might be in a vehicle. In Nevada County Sheriff's Office on Tuesday, 9:11 a.m., a caller from 16,000 block of Hang Tree Road reported possible vandalism to a gate. At 9:50 a.m., a man from 10,000 block of Rough and Ready Road reported possible trespassing. At 10:18 a.m., a man from 12,000 block of McCourtney Road reported his hammock was cut down from a tree. At 10:37 a.m., a caller from 12,000 block of Rough and Ready Highway reported possible squatters. A person had been evicted and was advised not to return, and extra patrols were requested. 12:42 p.m., a caller from 14,000 block of Highway 49 reported vandalism to a vehicle. And 4:08 p.m., a caller from Highway 20 and Penn Valley Drive reported a man jumping into traffic. He could not be located. 4:47 p.m., a man from 10,000 block of Pine Hill Drive reported theft of a cell phone. And 6:49 p.m., a caller from Nevada Union High School reported an assault. At 8:09 p.m., a caller from 10,000 block of Keenan Way reported tree fell into an empty house. 10:56 p.m., a caller from Highway 49 and Old Donnyville Highway reported a tree down blocking one lane of traffic. And Wednesday, 2:28 a.m., a caller from 10,000 block of Horton Street reported a person violating a restraining order. Man was arrested on unknown charges. At 4:54 a.m., a caller from 16,000 block of Duggins Road reported an alarm going off in the main residence, a loud banging sound. Caller was a tenant and said the landlord was saying there were Mexicans on the property. Landlord was acting strangely and said there were people looking through his windows and he had shot out one of his windows. Man was arrested on suspicion of being under the influence of a controlled substance. Don't eat those mushrooms. Nevada City Police Department on Tuesday, 1:23 p.m., a caller from King Harum Lane reported an assault. At 1:48 p.m., a woman from Urine and Nevada Streets reported a trespasser. At 7:14 p.m., a caller from 100 block of Argyle Way reported an unwanted subject. A man was arrested on suspicion of being drunk in public. At 9:26 p.m., a caller from 200 block of Commercial Street reported a man lying on the sidewalk asking for help. And that's it for the blotter today. Now another thanks to one of our underwriters who supports your only visual video news media in Nevada County. That's right, it's us, GVTV News. In today's local news headlines, parent concerned over no Mohawk policy at Grass Valley Elementary School, and lease okayed for a new Nevada County Social Services Center. To celebrate her son William's Native American lineage, Shanna Morin Hennifer said her father's son decided to give the child a Mohawk haircut several days before Thanksgiving. His grandfather and great-grandfather were really justified Native Americans, she said. Their bone structure, their hairstyle, the way they dress, it's very noticeable, so he just did it to honor their grandfathers and their heritage. But when Morin Hennifer went to drop her son off at Margaret G. Scotton Elementary School on Monday last week, she says she was told that her son couldn't be in school like that. When we were in front of the office, a lady stood up out of her desk and was pointing at William, saying, "You can't be in here. He can't be in here like this. You need to take him home. He can't be at school like that," she said. Scotton School Principal John Baggett would inform Morin Hennifer later that day that her son could come back to school but needed to wear a hat. Morin Hennifer said Baggett told her that he would prefer that she shave her son's head because the Mohawk was against school policy. He said it's part of the children's religion and heritage, then it could be bypassed, she recalls. But he said it was not okay because we didn't check with the box and enrollment form saying William was Native American. Upset about being asked to shave her son's head, Morin Hennifer said she posted a message on his local Facebook page to try to get feedback from people on what to do. To date, more than 450 comments have been made on her post. "I never expected so much support and so many other comments," she said. "People have been calling the school and reposting my post, so it's been great to get so much support." Currently, Morin Hennifer said her son is going to school wearing a hat and adding he didn't want to go to school the other day because he didn't want to wear a hat all day. Kids kept trying to pull it off, trying to get him in trouble. According to Baggett, dress code policy varies from school to school, and it's created by each school's individual site council, which comprises of school staff, parents, and other community stakeholders who are elected to serve on the council. Typical dress codes start with parents and teachers and community members who sit down and talk about the kind of school they want to have, Baggett said. The No Mohawk policy has been part of the handbook since we've passed out throughout the years for probably a decade. I've never had any issues with it. We are trying to work with parents, but it's real clear in the handbook. It's always been real clear. School's No Mohawk policy was initially created by the site council because they decided the hairstyle was a distraction to students learning when students come to school with a mohawk. Baggett said he usually lets them stay in school wearing a hat. Or the parents usually will pick them up and say, "Oh, I'm sorry," and they'll shave their heads and bring them back to school. With this family, we said we just put a hat on and he can come back to school, so he's been in school, he's been happy, and I haven't heard it from the parents lately. I wonder what they do with orange hair and pink hair and things like that. Grass Valley School District Superintendent Eric Fredrickson says that the dress code policies do change from time to time and that the parents who have grievances on any part of the school's handbook can either present those grievances to the school's city council, site council, or file a complaint. The way we deal with it is that we don't want to make judgment about anyone's lifestyle. That's not why we're here, he said. What we do is we establish the policies. The principal have school site councils, and those school site councils review their handbooks annually, and that's an open forum for parents to attend. Baggett says the following the school's dress code is also a way to prepare students for life after school. Morin Hennifer, though, says she's being asked to shave or conceal their son's hairstyle is a form of discrimination. His cousin, who's in a same household, has a mohawk and attends Lyman Gilmore, and that's the same school district, but that's the same school Mr. Baggett used to be the principal at, Morin Hennifer said, and he didn't have a problem at all. Fredrickson said that the district's middle school does not have the same dress code policy as Scotton, and mohawks are allowed at that school. Baggett also added that he believes having actual documentation proving someone is Native American is important as well. Morin Hennifer said she is looking into starting a petition to present to the district to see if she can challenge the No Mohawk policy and will encourage other parents to sign it. We do try to work with the families as much as possible, Baggett said, but we have a policy, and frankly the policy is created by parents on those committees. So I encourage parents to get involved in the school and go through the process in the correct way. Particularly if it's legitimately culturally related, we try to be sensitive to that, especially if they have proof. No comment. Nevada County's veterans, job seekers, and families will soon have one-stop place to go for services thanks to a new lease approved this week by county officials. Nevada County Board of Supervisors voted unanimously Tuesday to lease a 20,000 square foot building in Brighton Green's Office Park at 988 McCourtney Road, Grass Valley, to consolidate 6 county social service offices that are currently spread out of 5 disparate locations. Makes sense, said Supervisor Ed Schofield. We can have common services housed all together, and where we don't have to say, if you want this service, it's down the road. Following a target move-in date of June of next year, the following offices will be in the same building and share conference rooms, coffee break rooms, reception areas, and 116 parking spaces. Veterans Service Office, which was down Grass Valley, Women's Infant and Children Program, or WIC, CalWorks, and One Stop, Children's Behavioral Health and Child Protective Services, and Social Services eligibility.